This is Miriam Kinunda with tasteoftanzania.com. Welcome back. Today we are going to prepare something that is loved all over East Africa, and that's mandazi. All maamri. Actually, there's a talk of what if maamri and mandazi is the same thing. Basically, it is the same thing, but it depends where you're coming from. People from the from the coast part of East Africa, basically they prefer to use the word mahamri. But if you're from inland or any other part, it's mandazi. So there's no difference at all. Some people say mahamri, no, you put eggs or this and that. No, it's the same recipe, but if you add eggs or if you add baking powder, it's your choice. But general mandazi, the regular mandazi, you have to use yeast. See, if you put baking powder in mandazi, now you're going to make half cake or different kind of mandazi, but not the regular mandazi. So don't confuse that, okay? In regular mandazi, you use yeast. And then some people believe, no, mahamri, you use coconuts, mandazi, you don't use coconut. No, it doesn't have, it's nothing to do with the name, but it's from where you're from. People around the coast of East Africa, they put coconut in everything, as I remember, except maybe in their tea. So they will prefer to put coconut in mandazi, and also they will add a spice, cardamom, or in Swahili we say iliki. We put that in mandazi. So, but it doesn't make it now to be maamri. No, it's still the same thing. It's just your preferences. I'm going to use half the recipe. Normally I use 3 cups, but today we're going to use half the recipe, so that will be 1.5 cups of flour. And this is 1 cup, and let's change and use the half a cup. There we are. And you can mix the dry ingredients first. Our cardamom, you know, since it's half recipe, you can use like half a teaspoon or a whole teaspoon if you want it to taste nicer. And let's just mix a little bit with our hand. And here you can use coconut milk, but also the liquid. If you use coconut powder, just mix the coconut powder here, and then you just use water. But in your water, mix with your sugar, okay? So let's put just a little bit first, because we still have our yeast. And you have your, you put now yeast already mixed with water. Okay, there. Now let's get messy. Now, as I always say, mixing any flour for something almost like bread, I never use exactly the quantity of water that is recommended in the book, because it depends of the flour. And so you see, it's kind of hard, so let's add a little bit. Always add, because kneading, as I always say, I tell people, your flour have to be very soft. Your dough has to be very soft, because when you put it down here to knead, you're gonna add flour. And once you add flour, it's gonna get even harder. So always remember to have a very soft dough. So, oh, this messy job. When I was younger, I liked it. I don't know why. When you're younger, people like messy stuff. There. So I can add a little bit of flour. I think I put too much water. And After I mix this, we are going to put on our counter and knead. Now, in your house, don't just use your counter, okay? Every kitchen is different. I clean my kitchen. My kitchen is very clean. I've been to people's houses. I'll never advise them to knead their dough on their kitchen counters. So you have to be very careful. Now, we're going to put this here and to start to knead. Just like the way we knead bread or chapati, there is no difference, really. See, it's very soft. Okay, let me clean up my hands. You normally do this. You just do this instead of going to wash your hands. See, it all comes out nicely. More flour. Okay, so you see my kitchen counter is very clean. Okay, now, so let's go back to the basics of how to knead your flour. As I said before, you can watch my chapati video and it will tell you everything, but I'll explain quickly so that we can move on. You have to knead for 15 minutes, okay? Don't do less than 15 minutes. 10 or 15 minutes, let's say. And you just do like this. And then you can just punch your flour like this, or just drop it like this for 15 good minutes. Or you can also put oil here. Actually, you can even use oil in mandazi. But if you don't use oil when you're mixing your mandazi, like what I've done, make sure after they're cooked, you tie them in a very tight bag. Otherwise they will dry so hard. Okay, so let me finish to knead this for 15 minutes and then we'll come back. Okay, now the 15 minutes are over. Now another thing, if you don't want to use to knead using your hands, you can always use a mixture, you know. After 12 minutes, your dough is done. So this is just what I prefer, to use my hands. Okay, now this is done. So the next thing, just make it nice round, put it in a nice clean bowl, maybe brush some oil around the bowl and put it there. Cover nicely with a white cloth or clear paper. I usually use that. And then for almost like 30 minutes, but it depends your room temperature, you make sure it doubles the size. Let it to rise, it doubles the size. And then, so I'm gonna put this in my bowl and then it's gonna rise and then we're gonna come back, okay? Okay, so it's ready. As you can see, it's double the size, maybe more than double the size. So we're gonna put it here. Make sure this place is nice and smooth. So we're gonna knead for just like 2-3 minutes. It's easy now. See, it's very soft. I like when the flour is like this. Okay. Actually, for those people who are in Africa, I remember when I was a kid, I wasn't a kid, I was I was a teenager already, but our neighbor used to mix like this the dough, not with yeast dough, and then we use it as Play-Doh. Just put color in it. Use it as Play-Doh. You don't have to waste your money. Anyway, now don't use your Play-Doh though to make your mandazi. But it reminds me in those days we used to play. Okay, so that's good enough. Now what we are going to do now is, to roll it flat and cut it. Now we are going to shape our mandazi. We're just gonna make a few, and I'll tell you later why. Okay, let me get some plates. Okay. Use your maybe baking sheets, and put oil. Why am I putting oil? Because when you put your mandazi here, when you cut them and put them to rise, and then when you take them to cook, they stick, and then they're going to shrink, and then you're gonna have very ugly looking mandazi. Here at Taste of Tanzania, our goal is to have food that tastes good and also looks good. So remember, you have to rub oil. And our rolling pin. Okay. Now, this is the fun part. Many people, when they roll their mandazi, they make it very thin. Very thin. And for that, it makes some thin looking and healthy mandazi. I mean, you want to make something that looks nice when you put it on the table. Somebody wants to eat it. I mean, we as people from East Africa, we know how great mandazi tastes. So no matter how it looks, we'll still run and eat them. But I think a problem when we're, in these countries, we're not making for somebody who doesn't know mandazi is, you just cook it the way you cook it. People make mandazi look so thin, and inside they have air. It's almost like, I usually laugh with my daughter. I usually say the mandazis have kwashako. So you don't want to do that, kwashako, oh no, rexy looking mandazi. You don't want to do that. You want the mandazi to look healthy. There, you see, my dough is nice. So we're going to have very few, as I said, because, where's the cutting? Okay, so we're going to cut. This cutter is not sharp. And you don't have to cut them round. Why am I cutting them round? Because that's how we used to do at home. You cut them square like a flower. It's all your business. It depends. When you have kids, you want to make them look more nice. Normally, many people at home, they make them in a triangle. Many people, either triangle or round. I was used to eat them round. So you see, these are nice and they look healthy. Another thing, okay, I'm not going to cut all of it, but I'm going to show you something else. You can do different things. This is what I love the most. I won't tell you what we're doing until I'm done. You'll see. Okay, so you do like this, and then you cut. It doesn't have to be perfect, really, because it's gonna rise. I used to love this, you see? And then you braid, you see? you braid them. I love mandazi like this. I do this even here at home every time. See? Then you put it here to rise. Or you can make a shape like donut, you know, you just cut them. And I don't know if I have that thing. Yeah, I have something small. You know, cuts here in the middle, and you have like donut. Okay, mini donut. Okay, so let me finish to cut this one, and then I'll come back. And then after you finish to cut these ones, don't go directly and cook them. That's when you get mandazi that have air inside. It's like the mandazi looks so big when you cut it, it's full of air. You don't want to do that. So after you do that, you put them aside. Allow again to double the size. Okay? So I'm going to finish this to cut, and then I'm going to put them aside to double the size, and then we're coming back to cook. Okay? Thank you. Okay, now our oil is heating. And also I would like to show you something. Now you see what we had put there. It's now almost double the size. Now this is good. Now we are ready to go. Now you see, this is the reason we had to put oil, because when you take them, you have to be very careful. Otherwise they're gonna shrink and you're not gonna have nice mandazi. Oh, you see, wow, that one already feel like taking out of there. Now I also had a thin one here. You see, I cut it. This is how people do at home, very thin, and they don't allow to rise. So let's cook this one too, and then we're going to compare. Oh, look at this. Look at this. And use medium high heat, you know, not only medium high, because you want to cook, you want them to cook inside. Faster. Oh, look at this, they look yummy. Now this is how mandazi should look like. No, they're very healthy, and believe me, you look at this, you want to eat it. Look at it, you just want to eat it right now. That's how your food is supposed to be. It has to look like something you know for sure somebody will want to eat. Oh, they're turning very brown. Now we are ready. Take them out. Okay, so now I have a donut for you, because you know some people say, you know, mandazi are donuts. Yes, it's almost like in the same family, but there is a difference, you know. There is some difference. Let's take one andazi, you know, cut it in the middle. You see, it's like bread, and then you take the donut. It's different, you see, and you see it's closer. The texture is almost closer, you know, closer to the bread than the donuts itself. And the donuts inside, you can feel it's almost like oily. I don't know if they put butter. I've never made it Western donuts before in my house. I always cook mandazi also because that's what my daughter likes. So, but this one is dry. You see, when I was mixing, I didn't put oil. Oh, I'm starting to eat. I always do this though. So when I mix, I don't put oil inside. And the good thing of mandazi, you know, when you deep fry them, the oil just heats outside. It doesn't go inside. So inside, it just expand and cook nicely like bread. When it's just when you know the oil is just on the outside, so it's much better. I think it's a little bit healthier compared to regular donuts. So, okay. So and you can see the mandazi have to be a little bit, you know, looking healthy, chunky. It's a big round, you know, see, big round, fluffy. That's how mandazi should be. And try it and you're going to love it. Thank you very much. This is Miriam Kinunda with tasteoftanzania.com. Mingi love.